Howdy everybody and welcome back to the Cast Gaming Channel. James here once again, and I've got another Napoleon Total War 3 mod replay for you guys today. But before we go ahead and get into it, I just want to remind everybody to check out the Cast Gaming Channel NTW3 kickoff tournament. Round 2 has begun. The teams will have about 2 weeks to get their matches in, so please keep an eye on those matches to come, as well as round 1 matches. In addition to that, I'll get them posted as quickly as I can. I've already posted a couple matches on the channel. Thank you for all the teams who have participated, and thank you for everyone who has submitted NTW3 replays to me. I greatly appreciate you sending me those. If you are interested in being featured on the channel, go ahead and send something to the TheCastGamingChannel at gmail.com or head to the description box below. Click the link to the Discord and send something in the replay section, or just say hello, and you might be featured on the channel. So with that, let's go ahead and get into today's replay. It's going to be a 4 versus 4 on Prussia 4. And for the Imperials today, we're going to have 2 French-Italy factions, along with a Hispania faction for the French. And Württemberg is going to be Army number 4 for the Imperials today. And they're going to be squaring off against Prussia. It's going to be the 9-pointer Prussia 1813-1850, followed by the Helder Expedition, Austria, and it's going to be Sweden as Army number 4 for the coalition. So this map has been featured on the channel before. It's a little bit different type of map here, and for the Imperials, what I'm going to recommend is that they actually take the house, which is what they're doing right here. And this is going to be a guard against their left flank in the back area, just in case the coalition decides that it's going to take this kind of peninsula. I'm not exactly what you would call this section of the map, but it's surrounded by a river. It's got a single crossing. You can enter the back, try an out maneuver here, but I don't recommend doing that. It's going to take a long time. There's a little bit of a river here that you can actually cross up until you finally get to the house. For the Imperials, I actually do not recommend moving an army on this section. You can be overwhelmed on this side. It will take you way too long to reach the coalition. You can be shelled by artillery. There's not really anything to hide behind. The river will protect you from cavalry charges. However, you have to funnel your troops across the land bridge. So I don't recommend doing that. You'll also be isolated from the rest of your team. So for the Imperials, I actually recommend what they're doing right here is taking this right side, using this house as kind of a staging point in order to push an assault either on this right flank through the forest up into the house as quickly as you possibly can, or hitting up through the middle. There's not really any good places to attack if you're the Imperials, because you have to attack this forested area, and then there's an elevation here right behind a house. It's going to be very difficult to take. There's also this little, I'm not sure what you call it, this walled area, this courtyard area, which will protect you from potential artillery along the way, and the coalition will be able to converge their armies together if you try and push alone on that particular side. If you choose the middle section, well, the good thing is that you'll be able to, your cavalry will have a bit more maneuverability, but you'll have to cross open ground against enemy artillery fire, and then there's also this forest you will have to watch out for if you push all the way up. If you're the Imperials, you're going to want to converge your armies, plug in basically from the left side of this house, and extend your lines all the way across to the other side of the map if you can. You're going to have to pick whatever the weakest army is that you think you can defeat versus your strongest army. Maybe you've got some great howitzer or some howitzer batteries, depending on what faction you've chosen, or the cav that you brought is superior towards the coalition cav. And essentially the Imperials are going to have to attack somewhere because they do not hold the LOC, and they're farther away from the LOC points on the map. So for the coalition, if you're going to be playing as a coalition, what I recommend against this faction is take this 2-pointer. This is going to be your staging area if you can. Send a few units to take the houses on the right side here. You've got a 2-pointer on this side, which can be easily defended. You've also got a 1-pointer in your base, so you're already beating the Imperials in terms of LFC. You could potentially have a single army come on this right side. If the Imperials decide to push up in the center and they push too far, you can outflank them using this kind of land area, the shallow riverbed area, to attack, avoiding this house if you can. You could also potentially, if the Imperials push up too far, you can try and take this house, but I don't like fighting by houses. It's not my personal thing. One of the things I see about the Imperials is that they're actually using France-Italy to good effect. France-Italy is a very good, fast-moving faction for maneuverability. They've taken this house area. They've set up a defensive. Essentially, they're setting up a defensive perimeter so that the coalition cannot push too hard, too quickly. I think it might be a good idea to actually put some units in the forested area here, so you can hold this ground, that the coalition will not actually be able to take that ground, and you won't be fighting in essentially a more difficult position, trying to take any units that have cover in the forest. Might actually surprise the coalition as well. Let's see here. So España is coming up. España has some excellent cavalry and some great shooting units for the French. Looks like they brought some hussars. Just checking out their cavalry here to see if they brought the typical cavalry that I usually bring in my build, but no, doesn't look like they're doing what I usually do, which is fine. You don't have to do what I do. And if I could remember the names of the cavalry units rather than the actual icons, then I would definitely tell you what I would do for my build. But anyway, a good thing to do if you're a France-España is take a lot of the low-costing but heavily numbered units. Like this is a 186-man unit, 174, which actually this guy might be doing. And essentially you use those lower cost units who are actually really good at firing. They just have a low cost morale, so you need to keep a good infantry general along with your your actual general along with an infantry general or something like that along with those units to keep them from routing. We've got a general all the way out here by himself. I'm not really sure why he's out here by himself. That's a little odd. You know, be careful about that, guys. But yeah, that's what I recommend for España. Take a lot of the low-cost, high infantry units, which are actually pretty darn good in shooting. A lot of them cannot form squares, so don't forget to take a few squares with you and push them up. Looks like we've got a cav battle coming up into the center here. Some dragoons hitting some hussar units. Oh no, Prussia got caught. Not moving its units in here. Prussia's routing. They're sending some reinforcement dragoons. They need to get these other dragoons into the fight, or this heavy cav into the fight to surround this provisional dragoon corps. Outflank them, get them routed. There's some backup light cav from España coming. There goes some dragoons from España routing. It's not looking good for the French here in the start. Oh, guys, you need to turn your cav around. You're getting chased by some heavy cav. More cav being funneled into this fight. Routing the España cav. España just pushing too much of their cav out. Looks like there's some more engagements, more España cav routing. Some more dragoons being tossed into the fight. Do not do this, guys. Run your cav back. You're gonna get surrounded. There's just too much cav being thrown into this fight. However, It looks like France on this left side may actually be able to win. They might lose this cav in the center. In fact, they're probably going to lose this cav in the center. There goes their heavy cav. These dragoons are not too far behind. These other hussar units probably going to be lost. There's just not a good use of cav. You might win this battle on the right against this heavy cav, which is not too bad, but at what cost, gentlemen? At what cost? More heavy cav being thrown into the fight against some Swedish dragoons. Get some reinforcements so that these dragoons do not rout. General being caught out of position. He might have actually just been killed here. Nope. In the back for some reason. We've got some Swedish heavy cav now pretty much by itself. And it looks like the coalition is losing this fight and is going to lose it. I guess there was just way too much French heavy cav, or too much French cav, or Imperial cav. It did not look favorable for the Imperials at the beginning, but they just, apparently cav was the name of the game today, which is so often the case recently in terms of the meta, especially I found just playing matches recently. I know it's been for quite some time, but I'm just surprised to see that the Imperials had so much reinforcements. Württemberg finally bringing up some of their own cav. And I thought the coalition had this, but it's not going the way that I thought it was going initially. There was just too much reinforcements from the Imperials, just overwhelmed all the coalition cav. I'm very surprised. Prussia coming up in the center. See if we can find Sweden's armies coming up here. They might actually be taking this little, well, maybe just sending a unit in order to take some of the houses. Prussia's coming up. Hopefully they can get an additional support from infantry along the line somewhere. Austrian Helder expedition actually should have been funneling some cav into the center fight, which is actually what happened with the Imperials. Imperials seem to just funnel all of their cav into the center engagement in order to win the fight, and that was the move to do. It kind of reminds me of the American Civil War, the stories that I've heard with some of the infantry divisions. Actually what happened is that Daniel Sickles moved his infantry in, which created a salient in the lines at Gettysburg, and essentially the commanding general of the Union armies actually had to continue to funnel troops towards Sickles' area in order to prevent them from being overwhelmed, which is exactly how I always imagine these engagements, is that once these engagements start along with these, especially with these large engagements, you just have to funnel everything into where that heavy engagement is taking place. You just do not have any choice, especially if you're overextended. The only other option is to retreat, but if the face of retreat is the destruction of your army, all of your reinforcements have to be funneled into that section. At least that's what I'm finding. So if you enjoyed my brief history lesson, thanks for my long-winded explanation there. Austria is moving into position. They don't have any support Their artillery is a little bit too far behind the lines. This is a mistake. They're going to be pushing into some 8-pounder horse artillery instead of having their artillery be closer to the lines. It's only 3-pounders, and they're at range, which I don't like. I would actually have Austria just hold the forest, let France come to you. They've got to take the LOC. If your game is to move Sweden up in order to flank Italy, France-Italy on this section, that's not a bad idea, but wait till Sweden is closer so you don't take too much damage. Also, you need to move your horse artillery up, but if you had waited for France to come back towards you, you could fight towards this house. You've got the benefit of having this protection of the courtyard from enemy artillery. Also, there's this gap in between the Imperial lines, or I'm sorry, the coalition lines, which the Imperials could actually exploit. Okay, it's good to see that Austria has brought up their artillery. Just be careful. Oh, there's some cav here. It's a little bit out of position from the horse artillery, but just be careful your horse artillery doesn't get damaged. And be careful, guys. Austria, if you push up too far, you're going to be fighting against the house, which you don't want to do. Also, Württemberg is coming up to outflank you guys, so if you're going to push, you got to do it quickly. Otherwise, I actually just recommend you guys retreating back to the forest. Try and have your artillery take out as much as possible. I mean, once Württemberg comes into the fight, you guys are going to have a tough time repositioning. You're going to have to bend back your flank, and have Sweden push against France, Italy on this section, which will be kind of difficult because there's a reinforcing army coming up in the center. Okay, looks like we've got some more France-Italy troops coming down this riverbed section. Peninsular section, I don't know what you call it. Helder Expedition, where are you guys? All the way in the back here. You're going to need to come up quickly. I'm not sure what's taking them so long to maneuver. I know Helder Expedition does not move very quickly, but neither do its Austrian allies here. Prussia's moving up. You guys need to move up more of your infantry. You just have one section of your infantry here being pushed up. Your artillery has not been brought to bear. It needs to be placed somewhere, guys, in order to start firing on the French lines. We've got some engagements happening against Austria and France, Italy here. Looks like we've got some light infantry against Austria. This artillery placement isn't too bad. I like to keep the artillery behind the lines as much as you can. This counter artillery fire looks like it's being somewhat successful. Normally I just recommend firing at the cavalry or enemy infantry if you're using your artillery, but it seems to be effective in this case. Looks like some more France-Italy units coming up. There's this gap here which some cavalry is being used to plug along with some skirmisher units. This would be an excellent time to get some local superiority against these sapper units with this L3 units that can form squares, so if you get charged by the enemy you can actually move around, or form square rather. And this is what I was talking about. Württemberg is finally coming up. Austria was going to, if they were going to attack, they were going to have to engage against and defeat France-Italy on this side extremely quickly, which is not what's happening and not what I thought was going to happen either. Got infantry engagements all along the lines. Prussia, if it had some artillery set up right here, it would be actually beginning some excellent shots against this España infantry. Now Italy is coming up to reinforce España on this side. Hurry your artillery, guys, to the front of the line. Sweden, just go ahead and plop it down and start firing against the Italy. Against the Italian faction, the French-Italian faction. Austria, you're going to have to fold this flank. There's nothing else you can do about it. You got to retreat on this side. Looks like this horse artillery from Austria is gone. They're going to have to continue to retreat, and they should be fighting in the forest. Looks like some cuirassiers are charging into a square formation from Württemberg. It's not a good idea, guys. And now Austria's heavy cav is routing. Württemberg is coming up, outflanking. Your morale is dropping all across the lines, guys. You're walking into enemy artillery fire. Do not do this. This is not a smart move right now, especially with this cav right here. You're gonna get defeated pretty darn quickly. Some canister shot mowing down the lines of Austria. Austria folding its flank as it should just be retreating against the combined might of that side. The coalition's gonna have to poke a hole somewhere in order for them to win this fight. I'd push up this infantry unit against these skirmishers. I don't know if I'd run them against the skirmishers. They can run away. They're going to be able to outpace you. This is not necessarily a bad artillery position. Get some enfilading fire on these French units on the side. Helder expedition finally coming up. Need to start pushing right as quickly as possible to link up with Austria. Take the pressure off Austria. You guys are moving too slow. Austria needs to continue to retreat. It cannot hold this line. This general actually needs to be moved over here. They just need to retreat right now from everywhere from their section of the line. Sweden needs to push against France, Italy as best they can. Use the artillery as best they can. Overwhelm. You're not even engaging this artillery right here in the fight. You guys need to create an opening so this artillery can be brought to bear, or you can start plopping it down right here. Start taking shots at this infantry units over here. You're not even engaged for most of the fight. You need to start folding back on this flank. Let your artillery do the work. There's this gap opened up here. You don't have any support against this heavy, against this light cav. There goes your artillery, guys. That's sad to see that it was just taken advantage of here. And that's why I tell you not to put your artillery on the line. Just one more example for the history books. And here we go. This Austrian infantry is routed. Now this light cav can just go ahead and clear the guns with no opposition whatsoever. This cav in the back is just sleeping. Austria is folding. Helder expedition has taken way too long to come and support. Sweden was not able to defeat France, Italy in time. France, Italy in the center is able to just retreat. Sweden could be turning its units to get local superiority against España on this side. And it looks like both guns from Prussia have routed. All this infantry, there's 4 units of infantry right here that are not even being used. Looks like some dragoons or some light cav behind the lines. Hitting what's left of the Sweden guns. Sweden was able to form square. You guys able to get rid of this last light cav unit, hopefully. They're able to rout the infantry from the guns. And the left flank of Austria is folding. Helder expedition finally pushing up, but I think it's going to be too little too late. Sweden charging into some skirmishers, not going to be enough. France starting to push up here. Going to point blank Prussia. Russian guns still alive, surprisingly. Only 13 men left. Not sure where he's firing here. And you see these gaps in the line here, in the French line. This is where you need to be taking advantage of Prussia. You need to be pushing up infantry units together to hold off France, Italy. You could be getting the local superiority on this unit or this unit as well. Oh, and Sweden has just fallen. Sweden is just completely routing. Helder expedition on this left side. Looks like it's facing a cav charge from some light cav, some fast-moving cav, able to form square. However, it's losing some of its own cav in the process. And Helder expedition actually just needs to try and link up with Austria. It needs to retreat, use the forest if it can in order to get some cover against the Imperial factions. Russia, instead of standing and fighting, needs to just retreat. At this point, it's going to be cut off from its enemies, or I'm sorry, from its allies very quickly. There goes some more artillery from Prussia. It just was not protected this entire fight. And that's mostly due to the cav loss at the beginning of the battle. France, Italy doesn't look like it's having too much trouble against Prussia. Can actually just start moving this infantry up against Prussia, get some excellent flanking fire on the Prussian right side. It's got cav behind the lines. Could go after this general right here. There's some Helder cav here trying to hold off France. The Imperials are just continuing to push in the center of the map. And it's not going to take too much longer in order to defeat Prussia if Prussia does not retreat. Helder expedition retreating a portion of its army needs to just continue to try and push through the woods or come back around, put up some type of defense. See, are these some 6-pounders way too far behind the lines. They're not doing anybody any good. Additional Helder infantry by the house. I'm not sure what it's doing here. It should have been pushed up to support its allies a long time ago. Prussia is not retreating as I had suggested, just being overwhelmed pretty darn quickly. And it's going to rout here. Helder Expedition again pushing up its infantry. This is not what they should be doing. They should be retreating their army. They're getting outflanked. They're against two separate factions. Against artillery fire, there's cav on the flank. There's a house right here that could have potential units hiding inside in order to shoot their flank. And it's just been mistake after mistake for the coalition side today. And here's what I suggest for you guys. If you guys have slow-moving armies and you cannot maneuver in time, then converge your armies instead. Converging your armies is always going to be your goal no matter what. But especially with units such as Austria or Prussia or Helder Expedition with the slow-moving infantry, you need to converge your armies and push together. They are not like the French-Italian faction where they are fast-moving troops. They can hold ground for a little bit and then retreat if necessary. Your strategy and tactics are going to have to be different somewhat if you are the coalition, if you're using armies like Helder Expedition against faster moving armies, which France typically has. Austria is setting up some lines again at the house, trying to defend their position. It's like these 6-pounders are trying to hit the flank of these Württemberg Grenadiers and infantry. Not going to be able to hold forever. Austria actually has an opportunity to come support Württemberg if they can overwhelm these French-Italy troops. Should actually be falling back if they're going to fight France-Italy in this section. If they have any grenadiers left, maybe hit them in the flank. Doesn't look like they do, however. Some French heavy cav hitting Helder Expedition by the house along with some infantry support. Helder's not going to last too long. Prussia is out of the game. Sweden has an infantry unit. It's probably coming over to support as best it can. Helder, if you were going to be defending at this house, you should have been pushed into the forest here to get some protection against the Imperials here. Helder again on this left side, folding. It just cannot take the outflanking from France and Württemberg's combined might, even with their artillery support. Looks like the Württemberg cavalry is getting into the mix along with some skirmishers outflanking Austria. Austria way too far pushed up here, rather fight in the forest by the house, at least get protection of the house. France is outflanking Helder, and this is just one mistake after the other that I see for the coalition. It's just non-stop, even in their retreating defense. And I wonder if the coalition is just comprised of very inexperienced players here today. Microing did not seem to be an important factor today. It just seemed like one side knew what they were doing, had a cohesive plan, and the other side did not. Here comes a charge in the flank of Helder Expedition by the house. Some Austrian infantry inside the house, but it's not really going to matter at this point. There's just too much Imperial infantry here. Not enough coalition infantry. These guys are going to rout pretty quickly. All France has to do is charge the rest of its infantry here. And it's going to take this section, take the LOC. Helder Expedition finally retreating. It's getting charged by some dragoons. Stop firing at Württemberg. You're firing at your ally cav here. Be careful. Bit of a mistake. The rest of Helder Expedition getting charged by some dragoons. Not going to be able to form square. Helder might be able to defeat this cav charge, but it's not going to be able to defeat what's left of the Imperials today. There's an artillery battery left here. Prussia is gone. Austria has only a single unit left in the house. And that's pretty much going to be it for the coalition today. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the end for you guys. Alright, good game to everybody. Today's replay was sent in by Ave Dominus Nox, so thank you very much for sending in this replay. And this is a testament to experienced players versus inexperienced players. So for the Imperials today, the first France-Italy faction was commanded by Legio 17. They had a kill total of 2,290 today. Bry Mac was playing as Württemberg with 813 kills. Revan of Korriban, which by the way, love that name, was playing as France España with 3,522 kills. I think that's actually the second most amount of kills I've featured on the channel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only one to beat that I think was about 4,500 or 4,200, something like that. And for Imperial Army number 4, the other French-Italy faction was commanded by Master with 1,489 kills. Prussia was being played by Yavuz with 695 kills. Gandalf the Grey was playing as Austria with 453. Sweden was commanded by M3 Grand with 554, and Helder Expedition was commanded by DT Cheslak 19 with 287 kills. Go down the kill list here for you. 765 kills. Chasseur à Cheval unit, a light cav unit, had 6 or 7 chevrons. 765 kills. That's the highest kill count I've ever seen in this game for a single unit. That's crazy. And there's the rest of the list for you. Like I said, guys, good game to everybody. Thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next one.